is William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I welcome you to another Two Hats special of community events. Let's look in and see what's really happening.
And good afternoon, and welcome to Lambda Weekly. I'm Dave Taffet, and I'm here in the studio with the late Patti Fink. The Lerone Landis will be back with us next week. He's memorializing this weekend, I guess.
I think that's what he's doing. Yeah.
He tells us I don't listen to anybody. So our guest today is Monica Roberts. She's the main writer, the editor for Transgria, which is probably the most read trans news site online.
Probably. Certainly the most well-informed blog I've seen.
Sure. And when I say most widely read, there are some blogs that are written by the National Center for Transgender Equality that probably has an equal number of readers. I'm talking about Monica just does her own thing, and she presents the news. Monica, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Well, it's good to have you.
Yeah, it's great to be back on the show again.
Yeah, Monica was with us last year. You know, I usually run into her at the Black Trans Conference that's held here every year, and we ran into each other again. We also run into each other at the LGBT Journalists Association meetings usually, but I just saw her a couple of weeks ago. I said, hey, you need to be on the show again. So, Monica, we've had some bad experiences up here in Dallas for the last couple of weeks. We have one trans murder. The person was caught. We have one that police are saying that they haven't ruled it yet, but the medical examiner seems to think suicide, which is also terrible because the suicide rate in the trans community is horrific. Yeah,
about 41%. Running about 41% right now.
41%? Yeah. Just think about it. That's almost 1 in 2 people.
Yeah, that's the attempts.
Suicide attempts. Okay, so
yeah. But and this rhetoric, this anti-trans rhetoric coming from the Trump administration isn't helping that. Because we've seen an uptick in suicide attempts from our trans youth as well. So,
you know, it's great to see trans youth coming out at a young age, just like it's great to see gay and lesbian kids coming out as teenagers, because you can socialize better. You can go out like everybody else does. You don't have to go through your teenage phase when you're in your 40s, which is awkward to do, and a lot of people that happens to. So it's great to see them come out, but you hear this garbage and you don't know how to process it.
Yeah, and the other benefit in terms of for trans feminine youth, the earlier that you get the transition started, the less likely it is that you will need to do more expensive surgeries in adulthood, post-puberty, like facial feminization, and and some of the other stuff that happens with late transitioning trans folks, scalp advancement. That all and that all costs money.
Sure.
Plus the earlier that you do your transition, the less drama that you'll have in terms, the less baggage that you'll accumulate in terms of, getting married and then all of a sudden having to divorce, and then you're having those expenses with attorneys and all that other stuff if the divorce is hostile.
It's not just that. It's not just that with divorce, because we have that in the gay and lesbian community too. It's how you've affected that other person who you never meant to hurt.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
And I think the biggest part of it is that you get to authenticity quicker.
Yeah, exactly. You do. You get a chance to live your authentic life a lot sooner. The but the thing is, the battles about bathrooms and all the other issues that used to take place in corporate settings are now taking place at the elementary, middle school, and high school level now.
Mm-hmm. So we talked to all of our trans guests about this. Most people think, because this is the way our governor and especially lieutenant governor think, that you go into a bathroom to molest people. So we always ask our trans guests, when you go into a bathroom, you go into a bathroom to
potty, wash my hands,
okay,
and check my makeup when I'm done.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now, Lois Colcourse may think that that's a pickup spot, or Dan Patrick may, but no. It's more likely that our Republican friends will be caught with bad bathroom behavior than and some of the pastors.
Well, you have to wonder, where do they get these weird ideas from? I mean, they have to come from somewhere, so it comes from their twisted minds.
Yeah, they've been watching a lot of trans porn. So,
well, some of these bills and the approaches to these bills seem just inane to me on many levels. One is that, why is it women and children? The Women and Children Privacy Act. They don't care about little boys. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, they're not even consistent in their own approach. And secondly, part of this includes this wild theory that a cisgender male will dress up as a female, go into a restroom with the purpose of molesting somebody, and expect to be protected under a non-discrimination ordinance.
Which is bull crap.
It is.
Okay, let's be real for this. All right. A masculine person, a cis masculine person that's not on hormones, it's going to take them, okay, let's play this scenario out. Okay, you mean to tell me that some cis masculine guy is going to spend 2.5, 3 hours doing makeup, trying to find shoes that fit them size 12 feet. Then has to get out of his neighborhood where everybody knows him, get to the place where he wants to molest people undetected with all these TV cameras and stuff around, do his duty, and then go run out of in shoes that he's unfamiliar in walking with. Really? Please.
They don't even think this out, do they?
No, they don't. No, but the thing is,
because it's their porn fantasy.
well, it's not only that. These bathroom fantasies have, a history. It's the same. They use bathrooms to basically justify Jim Crow segregation.
Well, of course. And
our right-wing friends aren't known for innovative thinking. So they basically
kidding.
Remember, they used to use bathroom scares against the gay and the gay community back in the day. They used the bathroom scare to kill the Equal Rights Amendment. And right now, they're using the bathroom scare to push back against to try to push all this anti-trans crap, because in large part they're mad and pissed off because they lost the Obergefell case.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, they are.
And also there's something else they're mad at. Mm-hmm. President Obama was black.
Yeah, that too. Mm-hmm. But they actually had a meeting they actually had a meeting in Louisville back in 2014 to coordinate an anti-trans strategy at the Southern Baptist Seminary. Mm-hmm. And so the people that are behind all of this are the Republican Party, the Southern Baptists, conservative Catholics like Paul McHugh, and our old enemies, we call them TERFs for short, but they're trans exclusionary radical feminists. People like the Germaine Greers and the Janice Raymonds and the Kathy Brennans, who have made it their mission to make trans people's lives, and especially trans feminine people's lives, as miserable as theirs are.
And Family Research Council and Focus on Family Research Council actually has theirs published on their website.
Because they're proud of it.
Yeah.
They're very
I
proud.
forgot about Tony Perkins.
I want to go back to the murder and the suicide for just a minute. And just to catch people up on the news. So they caught the person who killed Carla Pavone. Police had a good lead because she had been on her computer just before she was killed with the person who committed the murder. It's not considered a hate crime. Police have interviewed him, and robbery was the motive from the beginning.
He was found with stuff of hers in Huntsville when he was pulled over.
Right.
Yeah, because he actually, the guy that accused actually lives here in Seabrook, which is a suburb of here. Yeah, he lived in Seabrook.
Wow.
So where they caught him was Walker County.
Right.
Yeah, which y'all know is the halfway point, almost the halfway point between here and Dallas. Houston and Dallas. So, and that has been an ongoing problem because there are a lot of my sisters that are doing escorting, or for whatever or they meet people online. There's this ongoing assumption by the criminal element that we have a lot of money just lying around our homes.
Oh, yeah, all you trans people are rich. Because you get so many opportunities. Now,
or that we're, because I have people assuming that I'm rich. Yeah, I wish.
Now, in Nicole's case, Nicole is the body that was found, or it was Nicole's body that was found floating in White Rock Creek. Right now, it looks like it was suicide. But there, and I asked on Thursday evening. I talked to the deputy chief of police who is in charge of investigations, and I said, "Okay, they found something around her neck, and so they think that she was hung, or hung herself." I said, "But how did the body get into the creek?" And he said, "Well, it's possible she fell off a bridge or a tree or something." And they don't have that information, so they don't have the story put together yet. Going back to Carla's, though, one thing I looked up, hers was the 10th murder, and since then in Portland, Oregon, Gigi Pierce is number 11 this year.
Brutal murder.
She was shot downtown. Again, it wasn't a hate crime. It was by a friend of hers or somebody that she knew. You have more information on that.
In Gigi's case, which happened a week ago, be tomorrow. She and the shooter basically got into an altercation. The shooter had been it was like a block from a women's shelter in Portland. Gigi is originally from Boise, Idaho, so they don't know how long she'd actually been living in Portland at the time she was killed. But she had this thing where she liked to help people. She was helping people, and is just for some reason, and they still don't know what happened. There was an altercation that broke out between the two. A gun got produced. She was shot and died at the scene, despite the best efforts of first responders to stabilize her and get her to the hospital. So,
here's the good news, though. If there is good news in this, police are taking these seriously, and most of the 11 murders this year have been solved. Somebody has been arrested, or there is an arrest warrant out for somebody if they haven't caught in I think 1 or 2 cases that I saw.
Yeah, that is the good part about it. But unfortunately, like as we discovered, as we had happened in April, just before I came up to Dallas, the Knon McFadden case, in which the Denver County DA, for some stupid reason, decided to challenge, basically tried to revoke the parole of the accused and bring up the murder of Knon McFadden in this parole revocation hearing. And which basically turned the parole revocation hearing into a de facto trial. And when the judge, who also happened to be a Greg Abbott appointee, ruled that the evidence that presented didn't rise to that level, it basically acquitted the guy of murder and committing that.
Wow. That's bizarre.
So, yeah.
When I say a good thing about
but
this,
for the most part, yes,
it is that when police departments take certain cases seriously, when the Dallas Police Department went on the news and was talking about the crime, the little mini crime wave that happened in Oak Lawn again recently, I think it scares off attackers because they see, oh, I thought I could just go into Oak Lawn and start shooting gay people. And the police are, no, we're going to be patrolling. Yeah, I think I can
rob and kill trans women with impunity. Blah blah.
Right. So, but police seem to be taking these very, very seriously, which is a good thing. When I say there's a bright spot, I don't mean, gee, this is wonderful.
Oh, yeah. To be honest, I said I had another interview I'd done earlier in the week. And I basically praised Dallas PD for how they handled it. I said they're running a master class before Carla's killer was found. I said DPD is running a master class on how you deal with a trans homicide. And the only hiccup was when they used the language transgender lifestyle.
Do you know, we need to
I don't live a transgender lifestyle.
And they did one other thing that they apologized for, and that was using using her legal name, which is a male name.
The dead name. Yeah.
But it was still the legal name, and the police have to go by a legal. And actually, at the point at which they announced this, they didn't have Nicole yet. However, I was going to ask you, in a police report or a police announcement like this was, what they said was Eric Hall, a transgender woman. So they were acknowledging we have a transgender person here. Would it be more appropriate for them, and I will tell them when I speak to them next time, hey, you know what, we came up with something that might work better. Had it said Eric Hall, in parentheses, legal name, a transgender woman. Would that be better? It acknowledges that there isn't another name for them to use legally
at that time.
Yeah. Would that be better, or you know?
Well, I actually suggested a while back that you basically just a transgender woman, especially if you don't know the given name on it. Because in a lot of cases, those of us in trans world, even if we know the person's dead name, we're not going to refer to it. In a lot of cases, we don't. So if you turn around and say, for example, in this case, Eric Hall, we're going to go, who?
It came up. We need to, Monica. We need to take a break, and we'll talk about this on the other side of the break. It came up because they were talking to the family that was using that name. We need to take a break. This is Lambda Weekly. We're talking to Monica Roberts. She's the editor and principal writer for Transgrio, which is one of the most popular, if not the most popular, transgender news sources in the country. We'll be back with more right after this.
This is Rollins Gilliland, and I'm listening to Lambda Weekly on 89.3, and darn glad to be doing it.
And welcome back to Lambda Weekly. I'm Dave Taffet here in the studio with the late Patti Fink, and our guest is Monica Roberts. We're just talking a number of issues. I just want to finish up. Monica, what would you suggest then from a police report?
Well, I know there's no way around, say the legal name, because if the person hasn't had a chance to, to get their documentation done in that regard, I would say the police would be able to, just say a transgender woman was blah blah, was found blah. It was say or Ms. Hall.
Mm-hmm.
In this example, because eventually somebody will figure it out.
Okay.
But what ends up happening far too often is that other media sources that aren't trans competent, and we have one down here on this end of 45 in terms of Fox 26 that will run with the dead name and blast it all over. They're reporting for it, be unrepentant about it, and then the rest of the news sources here copycat it,
right,
and just run the story verbatim.
Well, our Fox is very good about it, actually, up here.
We did have one station that I thought did very poorly. But we've had a lot of education over the years with most of the media in the Dallas-Fort Worth market, and they tend to do a pretty good job.
We've had a problem, ever since the hero fight, specifically with Fox 26.
Right.
And they've gotten even worse since they've started basically reflecting the national Fox network in terms of their conservatism.
Monica, I was looking at your news site, and you go in, you go off transgender into other things that concern you, and this is something we usually talk about on Lambda Weekly is football. This week, this week was there was a ruling by the NFL that players cannot take a knee at the game, and you kind of think that there's some free speech issues there.
Yeah. And there's also, let's say, a whiff of racism in this on top of that. Tim Tebow takes a knee at a game, no penalty.
Well, he's doing it for Christ.
A Muslim NFL player kneels in prayer after scoring a touchdown.
Because they're doing it for Allah.
15-yard penalty. And because the NFL is probably about 70% African American at this point, and there has been this long history of trying to censor the speech of black athletes. And you've noticed that the original reason for the take a knee protest that Colin Kaepernick said was that it was protesting the bad treatment of African Americans. Period. It is Donald Trump and friends who have basically turned they're attacking the troops, they're attacking the flag, and blah 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 blah. And the conservative media ran with it, and that along with and then hollering about sports and politics don't mix. Hello, have you seen the Olympics? Let's see. I can think of a long list of issues in which sports and politics mix. Muhammad Ali, for example. The 1966 NCAA championship game between the all-black Texas Western and all-white University of Kentucky team.
And going back before that, just Jackie Robinson.
Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, the audacity to think that he could play for the Yankees.
Yeah. Let's see. Jack Johnson,
right?
Who had a white wife back in 1901, back in the early 20th century. The Olympics. I'll say the long history of the Cold War rivalry between the late USSR and the United States playing itself out in the Olympics. The steroid-fueled rise of East Germany as an Olympic powerhouse. Let's see, we can go all the boycotts that happened around BYU because of their policy, the LDS policy, to not make black men elders in the church. So
and positive things. A
lot of protests in the 60s and early 70s.
I'm thinking of a current one. My school up in New York was scheduled to play, I think, Duke or North Carolina. I'm not sure which school they were supposed to play in North Carolina. They banned travel to North Carolina because of their anti-trans policy and came here and played SMU instead. That's political.
The NBA even moved the last year's All-Star game from Charlotte to New Orleans because in protest over HB2.
Mm-hmm.
The NCAA moved a lot of games last year out of North Carolina because of HB2. So don't even come at me with that BS about sports and politics don't mix, aren't supposed to mix. Just shut up and play.
Right.
Because, just saying that is racist in itself. You don't have a problem. But it seems like they have a major problem with black athletes basically using their platforms to speak out on social issues. Jim Brown does it. It is just a long tradition of black athletes to use their platforms to speak on social issues. Arthur Ashe did that. Mm-hmm. Serena has done that.
Well, what strikes me is bizarre a bit is that there came a time when even Jerry Jones with the Dallas Cowboys dropped to a knee, and now they're completely reversed that. Now it's like it's an employment law or an employment rule. If you work for us, you will do these things, and you will not do these other things. And I think they're just incredibly wishy-washy. They've had to step back and say, what do we want in the long run? Oh, we want to be able to control our employees. That's what they want to do. And
it's also, and you've also got the fact that Donald Trump was running his mouth about this.
Yes.
And Mike Pence. So it has the whiff of governmental pressure.
But it is
a First Amendment issue.
It is a First Amendment issue in my view because it's stifling free speech in their workplace, and you wouldn't.
And let's not, go ahead. And let's not forget the derogatory comments that Donald Trump has made about NFL players.
Exactly.
That preceded this. So
it's like he can't picture that those players are full Americans just like he is. He can't picture that Puerto Ricans are full Americans just like he is. He can't picture that trans people are full Americans just like he is.
You're saying Donald Trump is an American. I've never seen his birth certificate.
Well, good point.
Yeah, me neither. That's it. And we don't know for a fact that his mommy was actually born here.
Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah, that could be a big deal. It could be very big.
Yeah,
I think
almost
we should.
Like our Canadian senator.
Well, this week
we hope it's gone. In January.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Joke.
We'll see.
Well, I'll do. We're going to do my part. So
I wanted to talk a little bit about the runoffs this week. Of special interest here in Texas, Lupe Valdez won the nomination for governor, to which Governor Abbott declared the Democratic Party as a pot-smoking lesbian coalition.
And you know what happened with that?
Is the T-shirt actually made? Because if not, I was going to make them.
Glenn Maxey put it together. It is available, $24 on the Texas Democratic Party store. Okay. It's done and it's gorgeous.
There's mugs too. Yeah,
because I need to join that pot-smoking lesbian coalition.
I'm in it. I'm totally in it.
But
I'm down with that one too.
Do you know what I love about that? By Abbott bringing that up, how many times, other than calling Lupe, yes, she's our lesbian Latina sheriff, how many times in referring to Lupe and something she did, like cleaning up the jails so that they could pass federal inspection for the first time
in decades,
how much do we think of Lupe as a lesbian, other than, yes, she's our lesbian sheriff? Right?
Right.
I want them to use this and use it and use it to death so that the rest of the state thinks of her as, we have a lesbian who's running for governor.
Yeah.
We need to not hide it. We need to just lesbian.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because she ain't hiding it. And for the most part, that I think it is a wonderful thing when LGBTQ politicians, basically, when our opposition tries to use our status in this community as an attack, and your problem with that is?
Right. I think it's really interesting, too. I was telling my wife the other day that if I want to see Abbott make it through to the election in November without being homophobic, racist, or sexist.
Too late.
It's not even been a week.
Too late.
It's not even been a week since she's been declared our historic nominee.
Is it too late on that?
Now, in congressional races in Texas, we have 36 districts. In District 3, Lori Birch will be running. She'll be running against Van Taylor up in Plano for an open seat. Gina Ortiz-Jones in District 23 will be running against Will Hurd. That's a district that Will Hurd won his primary by less than a point when he was opposed, when he first ran 1 or 2 terms ago.
She's amazing.
And that's a big swing.
But he won his election by less than a point, too. So that's...
Yeah, that's been a swing district. Yeah, that's been a swing district for the last several years.
And then down in Victoria, in Farentol's district, Eric Holguin, that's House District 27, he's gay. And is running. He got the nomination. On June 30th, though, there's going to be a special election where everybody can run. And if nobody gets 50% of the vote, then the top 2 vote getters, whether they're Democrats, Republicans, doesn't matter, will be in a September runoff to serve in that seat till the end of the year.
And then there'll be a permanent election in November.
In November.
This is Greg Abbott at his finest, being absolutely stupid.
And then the other one that we had our eye on, the 2 that we had our eye on here in Houston area, in Congressional District 7, the battle between Lizzie Pennell Fletcher and Laura Moser to take on John Culberson, who is a lot of the reason why Dart got so much federal money, because he and his predecessor Tom DeLay were busy fighting Metro every step of the way every time they tried to apply for federal money. And Dart said, "Thank you very much, Houston," and went on to build, a rail. Their light rail system. And District 29 here was the Republican runoff between Carla Montiel, who was the former Miss Venezuela. And she actually was like a second runner-up in the Miss Universe pageant the year she was in it.
Wow.
And she was running against Philip Aronoff, who basically employed some transphobia in his runoff.
Whoa.
Yeah. That got him into the runoff, and he won the Republican by about 80 votes. But he's got to take on Sylvia Garcia.
Oh.
And Sylvia Garcia is waiting in the wings on this one. She won the Democratic nomination over 6 candidates and won it handily.
I'm sure
and
she's
she
amazing.
And she actually ran for that seat when it was first created back in 1990. And was knocked out of the runoff. She barely missed getting into the runoff then. But Sylvia is amazing, and I think she's licking her chops at a chance to take out this transphobe.
There was one other race we were watching down there, and that was Fran Watson. Do you know Fran?
Yeah. Do I know Fran? I was kind of sad that it didn't happen for her, because we have only had, in the entire history of the state of Texas, 2 African-American women serve in the Texas Senate. Fran was bidding to not only become the first LGBT member, the first lesbian woman in the Senate, she was also bidding to become only the 3rd African-American to make it to the to the Texas Senate. And the way that district is drawn, it is spread across southwestern Harris County, eastern Fort Bend County,
which is southwest,
and which is southwest, and a piece of Brazoria County, which is going all the way down to Freeport.
Oh, wow.
Lake Jackson, all that. Yeah, so So, in other words, you got to compete in three separate. It's like three separate, races.
Mm-hmm.
And Fran won Brazoria County because she did a lot of campaigning in Brazoria County. She actually won the Brazoria County portion of it. Narrowly lost in Fort Bend, but where she lost it was in Harris County. And the person she ran against, Rita Lucido, had run a few years before. So Rita Lucido has a rematch with Joan Huffman. And that was the other reason I wanted, because I wanted Joan gone. But,
she is no friend to our community at all.
Not at all. No.
We need to take a break in just a second. There were several other primaries this week. In Georgia, we have 6 LGBT candidates running for the State House in Georgia.
Who won their primaries?
2 lost, but 6 won. In Kentucky, the person that Kim Davis refused to give a marriage license to, he lost his primary.
Aww.
Yeah. And in Arkansas, Tippy McCullough, who 5 years ago had to resign her job as a teacher because she had just gotten married to a woman. She had to resign as a teacher. She won her primary for the Arkansas legislature. So good for her.
Right.
We need to take a break. You're listening to Lambda Weekly on 89.3 KNON FM. I'm Dave Taffet here in the studio with Patti Fink, and we will be back with Monica Roberts right after this.
Hi, this is Valletta Lil, and I listen to Lambda Weekly. I hope that you will too.
And welcome back to Lambda Weekly. We're talking to Monica Roberts. She's the editor of Transgrio, which is probably the most widely read transgender news site in the U.S.
And the GLAAD award-winning one this year.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you had won the GLAAD Award.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. That's a third nomination, so finally won it. But
good.
There was some stiff competition in this one.
Who were you running against?
My Fabulous Disease, Mark King. Let's see. Autostrato was in it. And I think Mombian was back up again, too. So it was like, there's some stiff competition on that.
Congrats. That's exciting. You prevailed.
Yeah. That was, they say third time's the charm. So. But yeah, it's, it was like, and the ironic thing was I was in a training in Vegas when they announced the winner, and it kind of caught me totally off guard because they usually give that award out during the May award ceremony, so I wasn't expecting it for a couple of weeks.
Wow.
They didn't tell you which award ceremony to come to?
Well, no, it's in I didn't find out they were going to do it until they were going to do it in Los Angeles, and then I'm like, shoot, I'm already committed to this training in Las Vegas. So I'm already committed to this training in Vegas. So.
Well, I was looking at your site. I was looking at your site, and I saw a story. It's from May that I hadn't run into before, and it took place in Corpus, and somebody named Bobby Rodriguez traveled from his home, sounded like a county or two away, to Corpus.
Kingsville, yeah.
And he was wearing makeup. Is it he or she?
Bobby identifies as a gay male.
Okay.
He was but likes wearing makeup. Yeah.
He was told to remove his makeup to enter the bar. The bar's name is Whiskey River because they have a dress code of gender-appropriate attire.
Yeah.
So tell me more about that story, because that sounds like a bar that is not interested in any LGBT business.
And it was basically Bobby had driven 40 miles from his home in Kingsville to go to this bar, and was told at the door by the bouncer that, you have to be, we have a dress code that says men have to be, look like men. And it's not posted anywhere. The Corpus Christi Caller-Times also confirmed that the dress code is not posted at the entrance. And when the owner of the bar was asked about that, she basically denied it happened and said he was just some rabble rouser that was just. And so they showed her what rabble rousing looks like when they conducted that protest in front of the bar the next week. But,
Whiskey River is a gay bar?
No.
Oh, it's not. Okay.
I think Whiskey River, I said, when I looked at the website, it looked like it was a straight bar.
Oh, okay.
Now, is this a
like
chain?
Straight bar.
Maybe a franchised from a chain?
I'm not sure.
When we were in Charlotte, North Carolina, for the 2012 convention, I guess it was, Democratic National Convention.
Democratic Convention.
There was a kind of a plaza not far from the convention center that had where MSNBC had set up, and we're broadcasting from there 24/7, I guess. And then above that, overlooking that, was a bar called Whiskey River that hosted all of the LGBT events. In fact, Anise Parker was there, and in the height of her terms as mayor, and spoke at length. They had probably 6 or 8 events there for the LGBT delegates over the course of the week. That's so interesting. I wonder if they're related, because that seems very.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting when you think about it. But the fact that this kid.
So he took his makeup off, right?
Yeah, and then probably when just so he could get in the club, because he was like, probably like most of us who are 18, 19, and get hit with that kind of stuff. All I wanted to do was come in here and dance, and then halfway through you realize I've been discriminated again. And I think that was the realization that hit for him, and then he wrote it up on his Facebook page.
And that's how it got out. Yeah.
And then from there, that's where it kind of popped up, and several of the organizations in the state kind of took up the mantle to have a conversation with his owner.
And even though he took off his makeup, he said once he got inside, he was not treated very well anyway, right?
I don't know what this. There was a couple of he just basically said he went in there wanting to dance, and then he just felt like he'd been discriminated. He just kind of had the epiphany, oh crap, I've just been discriminated again. And then wrote it up on his Facebook page, and then it took off from there. Because even the bar was like, well, he complied and blah 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 blah, and this person even had a good time after they. I said, well, I don't care. I said I had a situation when Denny, back in the 80s, in my younger days, when Denny's was into making their restaurants. They do ethnic cleansing if they got too black, quote unquote. And there was one day I go to a Denny's and they're trying to charge me $5 cover to get in.
To get into Denny's?
Me and my friend. Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm like, really? I said, I don't see it. I said, I don't see a disco floor and a DJ in there. Yeah, this was like in the early mid-'80s.
Now, something like that, Patti. Here we could report it to the housing office, because housing takes care of our discrimination complaints. You don't have anything like that in Houston.
We did until it was wiped out by city. Let's say wiped out by that. Let's say by the repeal ordinance. We did have hero. What a lot of people forget is Hero Pass. But it wasn't allowed, and even in the time that it was operational, about 30% of the complaints were racial discrimination. Another 20% of them were sex discrimination, and I think LGBT discrimination was like about only maybe 5 to 10% of the complaints. Another 15% were folks discriminating against veterans.
Well, but the people who campaigned to get rid of the law, you don't think Well, but you don't think that they really cared about the racial complaints either, do you?
They didn't care. They just didn't. They basically went into this to deny Anise Parker a win. They also, because she had been thwarting them every chance she got, and they just went in there because they wanted to attack Anise Parker, and they saw taking down Hero as the best way of doing that.
Yeah.
And then testing out their anti-trans attack, talking points. And it was a perfect storm of, they basically had a message that they relentlessly used, and our side screwed it up. Our side made the same mistakes that they made in the Prop 8 battle. In the Prop 8 battle. And the major mistake was not going viciously after, our opposition.
Sure.
It's past time that we stop being nice with folks that want to oppress us. I said, if you want to go low, I want to go lower and hit you in the nuts with, in the groin with brass knuckles. So that you will leave me alone. You will not only lose, you will remember it.
We have one other thing that we wanted to talk about while you were on. First of all, before we get to your shooting, on Saturday night, there was a shooting behind Throckmorton here, which is one of the gay bars. But it was related to a series of attacks that have been going on in Oak Lawn. A guy was mugged, and the mugger demanded his wallet, so he reached into his pocket, pulled out a gun, and shot the guy. The guy was able to get away. He was not critically wounded. He got away, ended up at Parkland Hospital, which is where the police arrested him. And hopefully the person who did the shooting is not going to face charges. He seemed to have aimed for something that would be non-critical. So it showed that he was, the intent was not to overdo what he was going to do.
Defense, yeah.
Speaking of overdoing, you had a little shooting down in Santa Fe, just south of Houston.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
There have been 2 other mass shootings since then. One up in Indiana, one in Oklahoma City. But let's talk about the one here in Texas.
Yeah, because one of the things that's kind of been lost about the town of Santa Fe is that Santa Fe has long had a reputation in the Houston area of being a little racist.
Really?
And right-wing, to the point where a lot of the folks run to Santa Fe because, the suburban towns around there, like Friendswood and Pearland, have become more ethnic. And there was, there's even chatter that there may be an active Klan chapter around there.
Really? Wow.
An active Klan chapter.
One thing I noticed is...
Okay, I was also going to bring up the fact that, remember the school prayer case that they brought up back? That was from Santa Fe.
Oh,
Yeah, remember that school prayer
Sure.
case? That was out of Santa Fe.
One of the things that I noticed that was different with this shooting compared to Parkland down in Florida, down in Parkland, they said, we don't want your thoughts and prayers, change the laws. The kids all went up to Tallahassee over the next week, and they got something done. In Santa Fe, they seem to bend to the NRA and just say, oh, yeah, thoughts and prayers, leave us alone. We need privacy, which they did. But did not join in with, the kids who are getting out voters and doing something about it.
No, because they're conservative. Because Santa Fe leans conservative. It's quite clear that town leans conservative. And they weren't going, and I didn't see them changing their minds even after losing several of their classmates and teachers. I also thought it was ridiculous what the lieutenant governor said in terms of, we need less doors.
Oh, I'm completely with him on that. My suggestion is that schools have no doors, because that way the kids can't come in; they'll be safe.
Well, the reason that you have extra doors is because in the event of a fire, you have to be, think triangle shirtwaist factory.
Right. Right. And what amazes me is that these kids were already reporting that they were trampling each other, trying to get out through all the doors.
Yeah.
A lot of kids got trampled.
Yeah,
and can you imagine if it was just one door now?
Yeah, fewer doors.
Okay, and also in a shooting situation, okay, you just plant yourself by the one door and wait for everybody to come out.
Right. There you go.
Yeah, so...
You pull a fire alarm, people start walking out the one door, and
Yeah, boom, boom, yeah.
I loved Steve Redner's comment about this on Facebook. He said, and Steve Redner's with Equality Texas, he said that this is a great thought then for the opioid crisis. Fewer mouths. If we just had fewer mouths. Because it works so well.
I just saw something interesting that the muscles in Puget Sound now are testing with traces of opioids in them.
Really?
Really.
Wow.
Because opioids exit your body through urine. And most sewage systems aren't filtering out for drugs.
Wow.
Before they dump before they dump the waste. A lot of the mussels and stuff that they're pulling out the test are coming up with opioids.
Well, see, and this brings us back to where we started the show. Transgender people who don't use bathrooms just to pee, they do peculiar things in bathrooms, according to Dan Patrick. You're not contributing to that, so thank you.
Yeah. Well, that's it. But I found that kind of interesting on that too, and just speaks to, that filtering. Maybe that is an issue also that needs to be especially since the opioid crisis, interestingly enough, is not affecting our communities. It is affecting rural communities, the ones that voted for Trumpy boy.
Rural and white, and so they're trying to treat it as a medical addictive process. Unlike for others who are people of color who were addicted to something else, were treated as an incarceration situation.
Well, the difference between crack and cocaine,
and then also to bring up the fact that the attacks on Planned Parenthood. This was tested out in Indiana, where they withdrew the funding for Planned Parenthood, and they ended up having a spike in HIV infections as a result of that.
And I'm sure also
failed. Yeah, they also failed to realize that many of because of the consolidation of hospitals, many rural hospitals have closed. So Planned Parenthood, in a lot of cases, was the go-to medical provider. So when you close those clinics, that means the rural, folks have to drive farther to get medical care.
The other thing that defunding Planned Parenthood does is you're not catching breast cancer as early because they do a vast number of mammograms.
Yeah.
So it's caught, but it's caught too late then.
Yeah, and there's also a strain of breast cancer that affects black women and that is far more aggressive. So it has to be caught early.
Sure.
You have to catch it in the first or second, stage 1 or stage 2.
Sure.
Yeah.
We are just about out of time, Monica. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and I will see you at the next LGBT journalists convention or next year back here at Black Trans Advocacy Conference.
Or if I make it, up by 45 before then. I may actually try to make it to the state fair this year.
Okay.
If you come up, please let us know, and hope that you'll stay over at least through Sunday 1 to 2 and come into the studio. It'd be awesome.
Hey, sounds like a plan.
Fantastic.
But yeah.
Great. Monica, thank you very much. And one other suggestion to go along with fewer doors, maybe if we had fewer students. Kids don't need an education.
Or fewer Republicans running the education system.
I like Monica's better.
Is that. For all of us here at Lambda Weekly, our guests next week are filmmakers Anna Torres and Byron Hunter, they will talk about their film which deals with suicide prevention. And for all of us here at Lambda Weekly, have a nice week. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Monica.
Thanks, Monica.
All right.
This is William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please leave comments below, or like, follow, or subscribe to us and get notices of all our videos. We love it, even when you call.